Welcome back. Another episode of Marlon Speaks Live, baby. We back. Finally. Finally back, man. It's sad. It's really a sad day. And just a sad reality altogether, man. Like when, you speak truth and you have a whole race and some of our own people, my own people, and Mexicans. Everybody wanted to comment on my video where I said it's not our fault, right? Blame your ancestors. That video. If y'all haven't checked that video out, I'm gonna add it to the description. Y'all could check it out and see for yourself. But yeah, I'm getting a bunch of comments. I'm gonna look right now. I bet I got a couple already, since I've been, setting this video up. Let me see. Yep. Yep. So yeah, let's get into it, man. Let's get into the video, the actual video that I'm talking about in the comments. I'm gonna respond back to every one of them. And if you have some melanin, if you are a slave, a descendant of slaves, and you watch this video, get in them comments, man, and back me up. I'm the only one. I'm going at all of them. I'm going at all of them with truth. Yeah. Do not blame your white guilt on black Americans. Y'all gotta stop that. Y'all gotta stop asking us or telling us that you don't have nothing to do with the system that you inherited that benefits only you. Y'all gotta start looking at your ancestors. Look at who created this system. We didn't create this shit. If y'all feel guilty, that's because your ancestors did something that make y'all feel like that. We don't have nothing to do with this. Most of our ancestors couldn't read or write, didn't know what was going on. They didn't know what was going on. Just like the Native Americans, man. Y'all gotta quit talking to them crazy. They didn't know, their ancestors didn't know what the hell was going on. They didn't, none of our ancestors realized that y'all ancestors had plotted and created racism and created this system of race. They think they're superior, man. Listen, that's all your ancestors doing. Quit getting mad at modern day black people that know who they are now. We didn't create this shit. Look, I'll be back. Yeah, so that's the video. Don't blame black Americans for your white guilt. That's it, right? So here we got one commenter 14 hours ago. Yeah, white guilt is gone and it's never coming back. This is how I came back at him. Nobody is asking for white guilt. Guilt doesn't fix anything. Responsibility does. Honesty does. Accountability does. You don't have to feel guilty to acknowledge cause and effect. So if white guilt is gone, fine. But what's still here are the consequences of the past. And until those are honestly addressed, don't mistake black people speaking on reality as an attack. We didn't design this system. We inherited the damage. Being mad at black people for pointing that out is like being mad at the smoke instead of the fire that caused it. 3 hours ago, we got Let's Go. Some racist some races he probably don't even want to show his face. Yeah. All these accounts be like anonymous. It's only one person I saw with a real name on here. And then what Let's Go said, you think you are personally responsible for the crimes of other black people? I said nothing about no goddamn crimes. Good. And I'm not responsible for other people's sins either. Whether people of the past, I think he meant to say, or present. And then I responded, if you want someone to blame for today's racial issues, look at the ancestors who built the system my people didn't create it. We survived it. Here we got Smokey. And this, I think this a white dude, but I think he trying to act and pretend like he black. But this is yet another account with no picture. Black man talking like he's one of us. Bro, you're not like us. Instead of focusing on YouTube, you should focus on your kids. Do they know who you are? Yeah, that sounds like some racist white dude comment. Then I responded, I'm a man made in God's image. What my kids that all got not only my name, but my legacy got to do with my content. Then I said, I added like 2 more comments to this. I said 4 grown and 1 minor and 1 grand. 4 for 4 high school graduates with 2 college graduates. The other 2 are successful musicians. My oldest son learned music from birth, sitting on my lap. Now he's one of the biggest out of our region and country. My father was heavily involved in my life, as were my grandfathers, my great-grandfathers, and so on. We don't have those issues in my family tree. I just pray for you, though, because that has to be an issue for you to automatically assume that. That is actually a bigger issue in the white community. The women just remarry a lot, and they end up having the illusion of an intact family. Then I commented, I am one of us, whether you like it or not. My bloodline paid the price for this country long before either of us had a choice. My ancestors were beaten, stripped of language, family, land, and still survived so I could stand here and speak freely. I don't get to separate myself from that just because it makes someone uncomfortable. And don't talk to me about my kids like that's some insult. My children know exactly who I am. A man who knows where he comes from and refuses to pretend oppression didn't shape the reality we're still living in, teaching them truth, self-respect, and history is focusing on my kids. What I won't do is tear down my own people to feel closer to people who never accepted us in the first place. You can dislike black folks if you want, but don't confuse distancing yourself from us with being elevated above us. That mindset didn't save our grandparents, and it won't save you. We don't all think the same, but don't tell me I am not like us, because I refuse to forget who us is. Then it's Mike Tally 5'4". This might be a real, okay, yeah, this is old. A lot of the older white men, they'll show their face, probably because they retired.
Do not blame your
Probably because they
white
retired and they live long enough and they want to share they racism now. I don't have any white guilt at all. I'm proud of my ancestors and my European heritage. Then I answered, I'm not asking you to carry guilt. I'm asking you to carry honesty. I can't say the same thing you just said because my ancestors weren't given the luxury of pride without pain. My European heritage didn't come to me through culture or choice. It came through chains, rape, forced labor, and laws written to make sure my people stayed at the bottom so others could rise. You get to be proud because your history was protected, recorded, and rewarded. My people had their languages erased, their names stolen, their families sold apart, and then were blamed for conditions that oppression created. So, no, I don't need your guilt. But don't confuse pride with innocence. And don't confuse heritage with harmlessness. I live every day in the aftershocks of what your ancestors built and mine survived. That's not about blaming you, it's about acknowledging reality. Respect starts there. You're proud of where you come from. I'm proud we're still here at all. Wow. And I did that. Then this dude, I think this is the first comment. Facts break stupidity. Bro, you're such a fake victim. White guilt is stupid. And I'm not white or black. Also, black fatigue is real because y'all have no accountability. Then I said, look up the original meaning of black fatigue. The original meaning is being tired of comments like this. Then this dude jumped in. So they was trying to jump me. Then this dude, the white 160, he said the original definition, I think he meant to say, doesn't mean anything anymore. Y'all made sure of that. Then I went in. And what I say, you have no idea what's going on. We're sitting back watching y'all destroy yourselves over this illusion and lie your ancestors built for you. Enjoy these next 3 years. After that, reparations for everything this administration is doing right now. Y'all will be our footstools. We need your hate. It makes us great. Then I said, my ancestors weren't given freedom out of kindness. They endured enslavement, theft of labor, rape, lynching, laws designed to break them, and generations of enforced poverty, and still forced this country to live up to the words it never intended to honor. Freedom wasn't handed down, it was fought for, bled for, and dragged out of a system that profited from our suffering. You say if white people hated us, we know it. We did know it. In chains and in burning crosses and redlinings and mass incarceration and stolen land and stolen wealth. Hatred doesn't always shout. Sometimes it writes laws, draws district lines, and pretends it's neutral. What you call black supremacy is usually just black people refusing to accept historical amnesia or silence. Wanting truth, dignity, and equal footing isn't supremacy, it's self-respect. And productivity, my people built this country while being legally defined as property. Our labor created wealth where we were never allowed to keep. So don't lecture me about gratitude or productivity in a nation that still hasn't reconciled the bill it owes. This isn't pity, it's accountability. And it seems to make you uncomfortable. Oh, it's some deleted some of these comments are deleted. Or let me go to the some of these comments are deleted. Cause you see I'm responding, but you don't see what I'm responding to. Yeah, some of these the white dude, he deleted a lot of his comments. Let me see if they still on my phone though. Man, somebody just commented. My ancestors, he quoted me. My ancestors couldn't read or write. They had no idea what was going on. Then he said, happy to see you keeping the tradition alive. Who is this? Zachary Slonum, 2962. Yeah, Zach. Bro, I would go deep with you, but just know that without the insight and intellect and knowledge that my people had, it wouldn't be no you at all. You wouldn't even exist. Actually, your bloodline come from mine. So the tradition you keeping alive I don't even know. Like y'all created something totally new. Y'all went against the people that y'all come from, which is Africans, and so, man, like all hell, like is breaking loose because of what your ancestors did, created this lie that you guys are still living under, man, and it's really pathetic, you know, and it's so sad. The only reason why I'm doing this, man, I'm really doing this for y'all. This is a gift to y'all. Okay. Yeah, a lot of these comments, but I'm still gonna read my response. So the dude, I screenshotted him. I screenshotted him. So I'm gonna read these. Yeah, I screenshotted all these comments. So Dwight, what's his name? Dwight 160W3RS. He said before I wrote this comment, he said it's 2025, almost 2026. You're missing the point here. Just run this. Hold up. He said, you've run this game long enough. Only a fool carries a dead man's burden on his back. We see right through you, though. You do it because you think it benefits you. It doesn't. And don't assume how any of this makes me feel. Believe me, I'm not the least bit uncomfortable about any of this. That's just another piss poor attempt to shame me into submission. You got the wrong guy, bud. I'm proud as hell of my ancestors, and what we've done for this world. Face it, you love the colonized modern world. You wouldn't be here if you didn't. So quit with the poor victim routine. It makes you look pathetic and weak. So that's what Dwight wrote. Then I said, it's 2025 going on 2026, and you're still pretending history is a dead man's burden when its consequences are alive, funded, and enforced every day. My ancestors didn't hand me a burden. I inherited a ledger that was never settled. There's a difference. Acknowledging oppression isn't weakness, and it damn sure isn't a victim routine. It's clarity. It's understanding how stolen labor built systems you now call the modern world, while my people were locked out of its benefits long after the chains came off. That's not emotion. That's record keeping. I don't need you to feel uncomfortable, ashamed, or sympathetic. I don't need anything from you at all. What I won't do is pretend the past magically expired just because it inconveniences your narrative. History didn't stop working just because you're tired of hearing about it. You say you're proud of your ancestors, fine. So am I. Mine survived kidnapping, enslavement, terror, erasure, and still contributed culture, labor, intellect, and resistance that this world consumes daily while denying its source. Pride doesn't require denial. It requires honesty. And let's be clear, recognizing colonization doesn't mean loving it. Being forced to navigate a world built without your consent doesn't equal endorsement. It means adaptation. Survival isn't complicity. So keep your lectures about strength and weakness. My ancestors taught me that strength is telling the truth even when others are desperate to bury it. And I'm not carrying anyone's burden. I'm standing on their shoulders, eyes open, refusing to let their reality be rewritten for your comfort. Oh, this is another one. He said, I ain't get to this, so this is a brand new comment. Alonzo Kincaid, 1362. He said, reparations. You people always looking for a handout. I love when y'all say that, handout. We the hand that handed out to this whole country. We the original hand. We gave your people a handout. We gave this whole country a fucking handout. We want that hand back though. Yeah. Yeah, that's what's going on. We don't need nothing. We gave all humanity life. What more can any race of people give the original man other than life? That's like that movie Fences with Denzel Washington. The father give the son life. The son can't do nothing for the father. White people can't do nothing for black people. We gave y'all life. Asians, we gave y'all life. All people on earth, we gave y'all life. It's nothing you can do to repay us. So keep all of that white savior shit. We don't need nothing from y'all. Trust me. All this stuff is that y'all ancestors built. It's an illusion. Our ancestors gave life. We was coexisting with this earth. Yeah. We were in perfect harmony with this earth. We wasn't tearing it up for some fake energy and fake resources. That's finite. We were in tune with the infinite. God. That's what we represent. Yeah, reparations ain't for us. It's for y'all. Yeah, it's so y'all can get that guilt off y'all back. What you talking about? Oh, this is a comment I wrote. I'm not playing victim. I'm speaking from lineage. My ancestors didn't feel oppression. They lived it. Laws, violence, theft of labor, stolen land, broken families. Those weren't accidents or excuses. Those were systems deliberately built and protected for generations. That history didn't vanish just because the calendar flipped. If you're frustrated with today's racial climate, the anger is misdirected. Modern black people didn't design those systems. We inherited the consequences of them. The people who should be held responsible are the ones who created and upheld those conditions, and the ones who refuse to acknowledge how deeply they shaped the present. White guilt isn't the issue. Responsibility is. No one is asking everyday people to hate themselves. What's being asked is honesty about cause and effect. When you ignore the cause, you end up blaming the people still dealing with the effect. As for accountability, we've had to be accountable since the day we were brought here. Accountable under laws we didn't write, economies we didn't control, and standards that were never applied equally. Accountability without power is just punishment with better branding. So no, I'm not mad at random individuals today. I'm clear-eyed about history. And if that truth feels uncomfortable, that discomfort isn't coming from me. It's coming from what your anger is avoiding. This is another comment I just seen. My ancestors could read and write. Oh, actually, I just read this on my phone. Yeah. Oh, this another one. Oh yeah, I did see this. Y'all need to start looking at yourselves as doing all this crime. Then I said, says the benefactor of the most systematic crimes ever committed. Then this the guy said, honest questions affected you personally. Everything in this, then I responded, everything in this system is color based. No one has personally suffered no one has to personally suffer in order for there to be something systematic going on. Then Peter Riggio 9853 commented, I avoid people that think they are victims. And then I wrote, as a black man whose ancestors were enslaved, brutalized, and legally excluded from opportunity, I need to be clear about something. The racial climate we live in today wasn't created by modern black people. It was created by decisions made by your ancestors in power. Laws they wrote, systems they built, and wealth they secured for themselves and their descendants. If there's anger about how things look, it's misplaced when it's aimed at me. My people didn't design slavery, Jim Crow, redlining, mass incarceration, or the racial wealth gap. In fact, when slavery ended, it wasn't the enslaved who received reparations. It was the slave owners. They were compensated for quote-unquote loss of human property, while my ancestors were released with nothing and told to compete in a society rigged against them. So when you say you avoid people who think they're victims, understand this. Acknowledging history and its consequences isn't victimhood, it's accountability. Refusing to confront that history is avoidance. So, no, I'm not asking for sympathy, I'm asking for honesty. If there's frustration about where we are as a society, it should be directed at the systems and the people who built them, not at the descendants of those who survived them. Yeah, I bet y'all that wrote all these comments mad that I screenshotted them and that I'm actually doing a video to highlight them. You know, a lot of y'all think that you can corner, you know, a single black man. A lot of my coworkers do this at work. They think they can corner me. You know, since we at work, I'm gonna dumb it down. Nope, I speak just like this right in front of everybody. I don't care who they are. Yep, I sure do. I don't dumb it down. Nope, I don't. No, I would never do it. And I like to highlight, and I like to see when my coworkers do this at work, I bring up what they said to me to other people in front of them. I put them on blast. Nothing is going to be in confidence. See, that's been a problem. That's why these body cams on these police officers been such a big deal. Because when people are able to see what you want to be hidden, now you are forced to change. Right? So yeah. Oh, this guy says, start by speaking well and getting an education. And I wrote, I have a degree in software. I'm not trying to speak well. I'm trying to butcher this language. You dig up some old photos of your ancestors and ask them why they left you with this lie of an illusion that you are inherently better. It's all their fault, not how I talk, and most definitely my insight and intelligence. It was their lack of it. And it's probably the only positive comment I got. And I can't even say if it's positive or not because of where he chimed in at. So this Danish AAA, so he might be in AAA, you know, a recovering alcoholic. I've been there 3 times. I'm not perfect at all. Been to AA. So I identify with you, bro, if that's where you come from. I have a story. Danish AAA said, I'm in Europe. I understand him just fine. So he's sticking up for me. But some white people came late. So it wasn't their ancestors at that time. For examples, Germans, Poles, Hungarians, Czechs, Swedes, Norwegians, Irish, and so on. It's the English who created that system, first of all. Did other people blend in and benefit from the system later? That's a claim that some make, but I'm not sure of it. But it's an interesting discussion. I'm willing to listen. I'm not white American, though. I think that guilt and merit is the core value of the Protestant cultures. That's why you'll find they always focus on not feeling guilty. Maybe it would be pragmatic to focus on something else. Even though you're not guilty of a situation, you could still contribute in a positive direction. Yeah, I felt everything he said, and that's why I responded the way I did. I said, that's valid. The later whites contributed to the system by allowing the system to include them in it. That's like Germany including other nations into their Third Reich. Even though they weren't German, they were included into the culture. There are always well-intentioned people of any race, but there is a thing called white saviors complex, where whites feel only they can save someone or group of people. That is what the missionaries in this country believe, and that's what they still believe, not realizing they are the ones that need saving from this system that has wreaked havoc on this entire world. The need for Europe to expand their borders based on limited land and resources led to all of this global calamity. What they encountered when they were in Africa were not only not savages, but the original man, who are their ancient ancestors and teachers of everything they knew. They encountered a people who could not have imagined what racism was and how the ruling religious leaders had made their culture and people the target of a scheme to enrich themselves under the authority of God Himself. That's diabolical. So when you say there are good people that contribute in a positive way, I would have to ask certain questions because if they share the same ideology as those missionaries usually do, then they're simply wolves dressed in sheep's clothing. Then this guy, Emery the Celt, so I guess he Irish. He said, never had, never will. Never had it, never will. I guess he's saying never had white guilt and never will. Then I responded, be mad at your ancestors, not me. My people suffered under the world they built. Then this guy, Mad Patriot Missile. Let me see, do he got a pick? No, I ain't got no pick. That's, yeah. See what I'm saying? He said, white man here. I lived a life of service to our country, enlisted in the Marines straight out of high school, got out, became a paramedic, got into critical care, managed a station in an urban area. He mean a black area. He was around black people. He probably Maddie around them. Moved on to the federal government as a medic, eventually moved in the direction of management inside the prison setting. I currently insure about 3,400 inmates have access to care 365 days a year. What guilt are you even talking about? I think about here and now. I serve all people, not just one race or ethnicity. I make sure they have medicine, clinicians, programs, opiate rehabilitation, dental and psychology services. Your skin color is the last thing that matters to someone like me. All races have inherently good and bad qualities. It's what makes us human. I've never denied another human being anything because of some trendy new wave of thinking. I also don't know if the author of this clip knows this or not, but I couldn't pick out my dead family members from 200 years ago out of a lineup if my life depended on it. Irrespective of what they did or did not do in the progression of this great nation, I can only control what I do. And I do a lot for everyone in the general public and behind bars as it is. I like to think my contributions to society are sufficient enough to not be lumped into the bafflingly backwards blame game going on today. I work alongside brilliant people and under some outstanding leaders. Every skin color you can think of is in there, and we respect each other, one and all. There are hundreds of thousands of people out there just like me. I'm just a drop in the bucket on this scale of time. But there are too many good people out there working their butts off for anyone at any time to go throwing an entire race off your neighbors under the wheels of whatever this white guilt nonsense is. If you got injured and needed life-saving care and I was the first person to show up, do you really think I'd be there because of sense of guilt? Call me to your side, or maybe because I love my fellow man. And I heard and felt everything he was saying, man. But like, ooh, like the spirit of it, it wasn't all the way agreeing with me. But here's my response to that. I hear what you're saying, and I'm not questioning your service or the work you do. By any reasonable measure, you've contributed positively to society. That's not the issue, and it never really has been. But understand this, when black people talk about race today, we are not talking about you as an individual paramedic, Marine, or administrator. We are talking about a racial climate that did not fall from the sky. It was built deliberately by the people who came before us. My ancestors didn't have the luxury of only thinking about here and now. They were enslaved, excluded from citizenship, barred from wealth, terrorized by law and by mobs, and then blamed for the conditions that oppression produced. That sounds like what's going on today, right? That history didn't end because time passed. It ended because it was replaced with newer systems that carried many of the same outcomes. So when frustration exists today, it isn't aimed at modern white people simply for being alive. It's aimed at the inheritance of structures your ancestors created and benefited from, often violently, while mine were denied the same opportunity to simply live, build, and pass something down. You say you can't pick your dead family members out of a lineup. Neither can I. The difference is my ancestors' suffering is written into law, books, economic data, neighborhood maps, prison demographics, and life expectancy charts. Their plan didn't disappear just because no one alive remembers their faces. And to be clear, modern black people are not the source of today's racial tension. We didn't design the racial hierarchy. We didn't invent slavery, Jim Crow, redlining, mass incarceration, or the myths about inherent racial flaws. If anyone should be angry, it should be at the ancestors who created a system so corrosive that people generations later are still arguing about its consequences. You're right about one thing. You can only control what you do. And doing good work matters. But acknowledging that the ground we're all standing on was unevenly built isn't a blame game. It's honesty. Respect across races doesn't require denial of history. It requires understanding it, especially who set the conditions we're all still navigating today. And I think he responded one more time, but I'm just not reading this. And I will get back to you, Mad Patriot Missile. I really appreciate you, Mad Patriot Missile. Put your real picture up there, though. I acknowledge the plight of your ancestors. I also acknowledge the limits you feel are in place, preventing you and other blacks from experiencing a life better than the one you are living. Well, don't assume, bro. Trust me. I'm in my home, my second home. I own 3. Okay? I inherited another one. Yeah, I inherited. This is the first generation in my family that actually my mother inherited. My mother's generation inherited, but my mother didn't personally inherit. My aunts inherited 2 homes from my grandparents. But yeah, this is the first generation of my exact tree that inherited. And it's really sad. I wish my parents were still here. You know what I'm saying? It's not really a good thing. But either way, yeah, I got 3 homes, 7 cars. I'm personally, I have, trust me, throughout every generation, my family was intact. Fathers everywhere. I don't know no generation that didn't have an actively involved father in my lineage. I'm not the exact victim, but I know a lot of my people are. So I'm not gonna act like I'm different. I'm not like these Hodge twins and Anton Daniels, and I'm not like them. No, never. My spirit is with all of my people, whether they commit crimes or whether they're the president. Yeah. So never confuse me by talking like this as being a victim. I haven't, the American dream wasn't given to us. We had to take it. Trust me. That working hard trope that our ancestors worked they fucking backs to the bone and received nothing. Yeah. I will never let my ancestors' voices die in vain. That's what you gotta know. That's what you see a lot of us black content creators. We are the voices of the voiceless. We are our ancestors' biggest wet dream. Like they could not have even imagined a time where we would be doing this. Yeah. Yeah. We are there. We exactly. So everything y'all saying, trust me, we get it, but you have to be in this melanin to really get it, to really get it. And so that's why I'm doing this, to try to, try to get y'all to maybe put some virtual glasses on and maybe look through and maybe pretend to have some melanin on for just this split second before you go back to your, your comfortable white systematic lives. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, Mad Patriot, I'm going to respond. Trust me. I'm responding to everything. I acknowledge the plight of your ancestors. I also acknowledge the limits you feel are in place preventing you, and that was the problem that I had. Don't speak for me. You and other blacks from experiencing a life better than the one you're living. And don't speak for none of us, actually. Don't speak for none of us. Because a whole lot of us that talk like me living in mansions. Trust me, we're not suffering. Never have been, actually, because like I said earlier, we gave all humanity life. After that, it's nothing more you can give anyone. So we can't suffer. We're like the closest thing to God in the human race to y'all. We're the closest thing to it. We're the original people. So God can never suffer. God gave us all life. God can never be a victim. God gave us all life itself. Imagine that. Imagine you telling God to stop being a victim when he created everything. Yeah, that's what I mean by that. We're not the God, but we the closest thing to God in the human race. So he said, what matters more to me is that we can coexist successfully with mutually beneficial respect for one another than it does for me to racially profile another man or woman. I don't have anything holding me back from having a friendship with you, being your neighbor, helping you when you're down, or supporting your right to the same freedoms I have. Are you ready to do the same? I bring no baggage or expectations, just who I am. See, when I hear or see comments like this, who are you trying to convince? Because I'm not convinced. A lot of y'all be just talking. Lip service. I'm not convinced. So you're trying to convince yourself. I'm going to come back to you though, bro. I'm going to come back, Mad Patriot Missile. I don't even know what kind of name is that. You talking like you a friend. You got a very, very terroristic name. You're a well-spoken man who obviously considers the words others share. For that alone, you've begun to earn my respect. I hope you can feel the same. Yeah, see, bro, I'm reading it and it sounds good, but it don't feel right. So we got to see, this is the thing with us, melanated people who know who we are. A lot of y'all so used to encountering the opposite, the ones that look like me but don't know who they are, right? When y'all encounter someone like me, we don't care what you say. We care what we feel about what you say. And everything I just read, it just fell off. But I'm going to comment. I'm going to get back to you real soon. I want it to be written. And don't delete your comments like some of these others have done. Joshua Phillips. I, as a man, am only responsible for my own actions, not the actions of my ancestors, nor anyone else. I am not my ancestors. I am an individual, only in control of my own actions, and therefore only accountable for my own actions. In the same way that I am not responsible for my father's actions, nor my mother's, my sisters, nor my brothers, just because I'm biologically related to them. I am only responsible for what I do. Holding someone accountable for the crimes of someone else just because they're the same ethnicity is injustice. So I had something for that. I hear what you're saying about personal responsibility. And I agree that we are all accountable for our own actions. But here's the thing. You're missing the point if you think that the current racial climate in America exists in a vacuum. My ancestors endured slavery, Jim Crow, systemic discrimination, and centuries of oppression. The effects of those injustices didn't end with them. They rippled through generations. So when I talk about the state of racial inequality today, I'm not blaming individual white people alive now for what their ancestors did. I'm pointing out the systems built by those ancestors. The laws, the policies, the social structures still benefit some and disadvantage others. My frustration is with the legacy of oppression, not with you personally. It's like if your family built a business that intentionally excluded me from opportunity, even generations ago. I'd be affected today. It's not about guilt for your personal actions. It's about recognizing that the world you inherited was shaped by those who came before. Just like the world I inherited was shaped by mine. My ancestors were the ones robbed, beaten down, and denied basic humanity. And I carry that weight of that legacy. So the real conversation isn't about blaming modern day individuals for history. It's about acknowledging the consequences of history and working to dismantle the systems that were built on the backs of my people. And Joshua Phillips, D4Y9W, commented back, that system has long been destroyed. At the end of the Civil War, all of the slave plantations and farms were destroyed, and property was looted, and the mansions were burned down by the carpetbaggers. He sounds just like a history book. There was nothing left over from slavery, and the Jim Crow laws have been long overturned. In fact, you can even sue people for racial discrimination solely for the fact that there are laws against it now. And we've even had a black president in our lifetime that won 2 terms in a row. A black man seated in the highest office in the nation. But do please tell me how I, as a white man who lives in the middle of a rural area with no car and without $1 to my name, and who is starving most months because I can't even afford food. My roof leaks every time it rains. My stove is broken and can't afford to fix it. Somehow can get this magical white privilege that everyone keeps crowing about, because right now I could desperately use it. Joshua Phillips, I'm going to say this. This is not part of the comment I wrote, but I'm just going to say this, man. If you're a farmer, blame the person you voted for. Yes. But he's not just hurting y'all. I'm in the automotive industry. He's coming for us too. The tariffs hurting everybody. Trust me. I don't know how this gas is down either. I think he might have threatened the oil people. So I really don't feel like that's genuine. But here's my response to Joshua Phillips. I'm speaking as a black man whose ancestors lived through slavery, Jim Crow, and the generations of exclusion that followed. I want to be clear first. My frustration isn't aimed at you personally, especially not someone struggling to survive today. Poverty doesn't have a color. Suffering isn't a competition. But when we talk about the racial climate we're living in now, modern day black people didn't create it. If there's anger to be placed, it belongs with the ancestors who built and defended a system that ranked human beings by race, not with the descendants of the people who were brutalized by it. Yes, slavery officially ended. Yes, Jim Crow laws were overturned, but history doesn't disappear just because a law changes. Wealth, land, and access and political power don't reset to zero when a war ends or when a court ruling is passed. That's the part of that often gets skipped. After the Civil War, formerly enslaved people were freed with nothing, no land, no compensation, no protection. Meanwhile, slave owners were not universally left destitute. In a lot of cases, they were directly compensated for the quote-unquote loss of slaves of enslaved people. And more broadly, they retained their land, social standing, and access to capital. Enslaved people were treated as property. And when that property was taken, the system still showed more concern for the owners than the people who had been enslaved. White privilege doesn't mean every white person is rich, fed, or comfortable. It doesn't mean your life hasn't been hard. Clearly, it has been. What it means is that your race is not one of the reasons it's been hard. You're suffering because of class, economics, and neglect, not because of laws and systems that were designed for generations to keep people who look like you at the bottom. A black president doesn't erase centuries of damage any more than one poor white man proves privilege doesn't exist. Representation at the top doesn't automatically repair the foundation. So no, I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at you. And I'm not asking you to feel guilty, bro. What I'm asking is that anger not be redirected at black people who are still dealing with the aftershocks of a system we didn't create. If anything, people like you and people like me have more in common than we're encouraged to see. Because the same systems that failed my ancestors are now failing you too. The real issue isn't black versus white today. It's unresolved history, inherited advantage, and a society that never fully corrected the damage it caused, then convinced struggling people like me and you to fight each other instead of the systems that left us both behind. I'm going to read this. This is going to be my last one I read. Then y'all can go into the comments of this video and read the rest of them, but this is going to be the last one. This was one of my favorites. Joshua Phillips, same guy. My dude, I've had Phoenix police officers beat the shit out of me before, and I know there's not a goddamn thing I can even do about it because unlike those that have the BLM movement in their corner, us white men are just out here on our own. We don't have a movement to protect for us, to protest for us. We are completely unrepresented, which is also probably why we actually statistically get shot and killed at a larger rate in the nation because a cop instinctually knows that when he kills one of us, he's much less likely to lose his job or actually go to prison for it. And not once has the police ever showed up to actually help me, but usually start looking for something to arrest me on. I wouldn't trust a cop any more than I trust a politician, which is none at all. And this is my response to that. I hear your anger, and I'm not dismissing what you went through. Police brutality is real. And it doesn't magically spare white people. Power abuses who it thinks it can get away with. I don't believe cops are a hero by default, and I don't trust politicians either. On that, we actually agree more than you might think. But where I part ways with you is when you're aiming that anger, is where you're aiming that anger at. I'm a black man whose ancestors were enslaved, terrorized, excluded from wealth, criminalized by the law, and then blamed for the conditions that came from all of it. The racial climate we live in today didn't come from modern black people organizing protests. It came from decisions made by white power structures generations ago. Laws, policing systems, housing policies. The economics were deliberately shaped to benefit some and cage others. That history didn't disappear just because time passed. BLM didn't appear because black people were protected. It appeared because we weren't protected. It exists because for centuries, Nobody cared when we were beaten, jailed, or killed. The movement isn't a shield. It's a reaction to a long-term neglect. And it's not the reason cops feel empowered. It's the reason some of them are finally being watched. If you're looking for someone to be mad at, it shouldn't be modern day black people struggling under the same system. It should be the ancestors and institutions that sold the lie that whiteness would protect you forever. That lie convinced poor and working class white men that they were above someone instead of standing beside them against the same unchecked authority. You say white men are underrepresented, but representation was never denied to you by black people. We ain't had nothing to do with that. If anything, black movements have dragged issues like police accountability into the light for everyone. The cameras, the lawsuits, the conversation didn't narrow protection. They expanded it. I don't see you as my enemy. I see you as someone who was promised safety by a system that never cared about you either. They lied, bro. But don't mistake that betrayal as something black people caused. We ain't got nothing to do with it. We didn't build a house. We were forced to live in its basement. If there's going to be any real change, it won't come from resenting each other. It'll come from recognizing who laid the foundation for this mess and who's still benefiting from keeping us divided. That's the truth right there, bro. So yeah, I'm gonna get out of here on that note. That's gonna be the last comment I read. And I just wanna if you guys stay here for the whole video, I really appreciate you. Like I said, I'm gonna add the link to that video in my description of this video, and y'all can go over there. You could join in on the comments, and if you believe in, if you share your ancestors' ideology and you support that, voice your opinion, white or black. If you however you feel, Mexican, it don't matter, Asian, whoever want to comment, but yeah, get in there. I just want to have some honest discourse, man, some honest thought-provoking and sometimes even not thought-provoking conversation. If you got something stupid to say, that got a place too in this world we live in. So if you want to be dumb, especially if you don't have your real pickup, you got a fake account, yeah, that's called trolling. That's a thing now. It's no big deal. So yeah, I'm adding the video in the description of this video so you guys can go check it out. Like I said, man, let's get some more comments, man. I love interaction. And for the record, man, the Mad Missile guy, he said something that, man, like, I think he really got me confused, because not only do I look at all human beings as all human beings, like, but I don't look at it in the sense of like I need to be friends with, because that white supremacy thing has messed up the minds of everybody. So I have to basically vet who I deal with, because there's some crazy deranged weirdos out here that, man, like, especially right now with Trump in office, bro, like this stuff is sickening. You never know who want to go off on the deep end with you, but I'm trying to put myself out there only because I really feel like we can help others, with this discourse, man. We can help our future, kids and grandkids with this, man. Whether or not how you feel about it, because eventually the truth will be set free. And on that note, I'm out of here. Peace. One. Like, comment, share, subscribe. I'm out. One. Come back. Yeah. Marlon Speaks Live. Welcome back to another one. Tell the truth here. Don't care if it make them uncomfortable. It ain't our fault. Yo, it's Marlon Speaks Live. Yeah, I'm saying what they hide. History uncensored, let the real survive. Yeah, it's truth over comfort, I don't pick no side. If it shake the room a little, let the truth collide. Cause it's Marlon Speaks Live. No script, no disguise. I don't sell no lies, just to monetize. Cause the past been breathing and it never dies. Yeah, it's Marlon Speaks Live. Now the truth will rise. Yo, it's Marlon Speaks Live. Yeah, I'm saying what they hide. History uncensored, let